Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight people in Howard culture that are blazing the trail and making moves. Today, got another special guest, man. One of my classmates came in 99 into Howard from St. Louis. She was quiet. Now she's teaching sex education.
I don't think
it's always the quiet ones.
I wasn't
always
quiet.
The quiet ones.
Look.
If you're watching this and you're younger, it's always the quiet ones, all right? But, she's a sex educator and co-host and producer of Literary Erotica. It's a podcast called The Turn On.
The Turn On. Come here, get off.
Come. No pun intended, or pun intended. I don't know.
Pun intended. Come here.
Explores the intricacies of having sex while black. You got to unpack that for me. African American Studies degree from Howard, Master's in Government from Johns Hopkins. She's made a career out of helping businesses be better, but when she's not working, she cooks, she reads, and she talks shit all day while day drinking.
Yes.
Not only that, I think another impressive thing is that she's a cancer survivor.
Yes.
So I want to talk about all those things. So Erica Easter, where do I start?
There's a lot to unpack here, huh?
Where do I start? We have a sex educator. What qualifies you to teach anybody about sex, first of all?
Well, shit, I've been fucking since fucking been fucking, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I'm currently getting certified as a sex educator, which is just a lot of, doing the physiology of your sexual health, your sexual body's physiology, learning about sexual psychology, development of sexual health, learning about gender issues. So I'm doing a formal class, but there are a ton of people that call themselves sex educators that just read a lot. I mean, it's just really a matter of knowing a little bit more and sharing that. But as a sex educator, you can do a lot in the field.
What's that final exam like? You know what I mean? I'll be the judge.
Final exam. There are lots of classes, and then you do quizzes at the end.
I mean, but I just feel like it's okay. You learn the paper part. You learn what's in the books, right?
Yeah.
But then there has to be some type of application. Like when you're a doctor, you know what I mean? You learn the book aspects of being a doctor, but then you have to actually get board certified and show
your simple ass
that you can do this. So what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to see if your program is legit. You know what I'm saying?
So what are you implying? That I'm supposed to watch people have sex?
No, what I'm saying is, what's your final exam like? And if
there is no final exam, each class has a quiz at the end.
Okay.
To make sure that you've mastered the information learned in that particular class. So I just took a class about gender expression. Mm-hmm. And so by the time the class was over, I should have been able to identify various types of gender expression. I took a class about seniors and sex over 60. And, so by the end of the class, I should be able to identify the various stages of sexual development in seniors. So, yeah, it's not necessarily a...
So all of it is just book learning. None of it is like, all right, now do this.
I mean, yeah, in order to become a certified sex therapist through the organization I'm seeking certification through, you do have to do, you have to do class. You have to teach classes and show that you've learned things, but it's not like I'm out here fucking in front of cameras or showing folks how to do those things. There are sexual educators that...
Because, I think it's a legit question. Because if you're a masseuse, you're not just going to read a book about being a massage therapist. You're actually going to have to...
There are some people that do. However, I'm not that person.
Okay.
As a sex educator, what I do, I work particularly with Black women And my goal is to help them obtain pleasure. I feel like a lot of times as Black women, our sexual preferences are pretty much just an amalgamation of the sex that we've been given. Whereas I feel like Black men are a little more encouraged to experiment and learn and try things and that kind of thing. Whereas
really?
Black women, yeah, I definitely do.
I don't know if I agree with that all the way.
Okay.
But you're the experts. Who am I?
No, share. Why don't you believe in that?
I think in society, I think women are definitely encouraged to experiment. I mean, you turn on porn, you're gonna see women doing all type of stuff. I mean, when you watch TV, you're seeing women, all type of women parts. If you see a man's part, you probably gonna see his ass. When it comes to women, you're gonna see two women kissing on camera before.
But two straight men deciding that they want to see two women kissing is very different from women being encouraged to explore themselves sexually. I feel like part of the reason why you're like, oh, Erica was quiet is because I was out exploring myself sexually during college and not telling everybody, you know? And part of it is because there's stigmas that come along with it. I think I was about to say children, the younger generations of women are a lot more willing to experiment sexually. But just thinking about women my age, I feel like a lot of times our sexual preferences are based upon what we've experienced. And a lot of it is what we've experienced have been through this guy that I dated, this jump off I had, that kind of thing. Whereas I feel
when you say experiment, do you mean like with the same sex, with the opposite sex, by yourself?
Sex, BDSM, various types of kink, all that, you know? And so
you've experienced all those things?
Not all of those things, but I've experienced a good amount.
I'm just asking.
So, no, and I'm just answering. I had to think about it. I mean, I can't say I've experienced it all, but I have experienced a good amount. And I think it's important for women to experience what they're comfortable with. I'm not saying every woman needs to go out and bust it open with 15 men if that's not what they're interested in. But if you are, like, you need to feel comfortable saying that. I mean, I was talking to a girlfriend and she was telling me how her and her partner kind of had a power dynamic and it transferred over into the bedroom and it was really hot. And I'm like, why don't y'all explore that a little more? But they've never, you know, but she enjoys dominating a man, but she's never had that opportunity to because it was never, you know, she was never in that position. The men that she was with said they weren't for it or, you know, like didn't allow her to do that. And so as a sex educator, my role is to expose women. First, I want to explain to Black women that sexual education is rooted in white supremacy. And a lot of sex education was built upon the bodies of Black women, Black people, period.
Sexual education is rooted in white supremacy.
Yes.
And that's what you call woke. What does that mean?
I mean, think about it. Like, so I remember recently on Instagram, I woke up and there were all these posts about Marion J. Sims, who was considered the father of gynecology, modern gynecology. All of his work was done on Black women, formerly enslaved Black women. He would take them and with no anesthesia, probe in their vaginas, operate on them, look at their reproductive organs. And much of the work that he did, which is like the foundation of gynecology, he learned because of Black women using Black bodies, you know? I think, you know, so often in sex education, we talk about monogamy or genders, and it's just the construct that was built using a white lens. If you go to African countries or just indigenous populations, there's so many different types of genders. There are so many different forms of family. There are matriarchal societies. And so much of our sex education is based upon a white construct. So yeah, so I start there with women, with Black women, and then I explain to them the various types of kink and
what is kink?
Kink could be considered anything more than just missionary. So it could be BDSM, it could be role play.
Oh, okay.
Rope rigging,
wow.
That kind of stuff.
And you've done that before?
I haven't done everything, but I've done a good amount.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. Growing up where I come from, people that did that, I looked at them as like different.
Weird white people.
Or
freaks.
White or weird or like,
You would be amazed at the people you see at these
Right. Well, you obviously now things are more progressive. So they'll have somebody that's straight laced and then they live in this other life of, once they close the door.
I don't even consider it another life. I just think it's, it's a different part of me. And, like my son don't need to know he knows me as his mother, but he don't need to know all of me right now, like he might learn it later. So I don't think it's necessarily a double life or something like that. I just think it's a matter of the fact that.
But wouldn't you say would you agree that at a certain level, some of those things are a lifestyle? Some things are like like it's like you said, not missionary. Missionary, what do you need to do that? Like a condom? You know what I'm saying? Like certain things you got to dress up. You need props.
I mean, shit. If you're a football player, you got to dress up. Do y'all consider football players a lifestyle?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
a professional football player, yeah, I would. Okay. I mean, because they practicing all the time. I'm sure if you go to a football player's house, they got football shit everywhere. I'm just saying, I think that it is, growing up, it was like, how we grew up, you watch Real Sex. Like that was like the most exposure that I got to it. And then as you get older,
problem, right? Like I feel like sex is one of the things that everyone does, but at the same time, no one wants to talk about. And that's a problem.
Why is that? Why is that?
Stigmas, no one wants to, everyone was taught that sex is dirty and nasty. And I think it's healthy to talk about sex. Yes, it should be age appropriate, but I think it's important to talk about it so that there aren't so many taboos. Like the shit that I hear from people about like what they think is healthy and normal is crazy. And a lot of it is because they have these unchecked ideas.
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, we were interviewing someone for our podcast and she said she saw this dude put hand sanitizer on his dick. He thought the shit was normal. It's not, but for whatever reason, whatever he learned, whatever he taught, he thought that was normal,
Why did he do that?
I have no idea. But again, like there's so many things that people, like I think this is also why there are sexual stigmas around various STDs. I think this is why some STDs just run rampant. I mean, even just thinking about think about us on college campuses. So many people was fucking the same people, primarily because they wanted to shh, I'm a good girl. No one's supposed to know we doing this. So then he out here screwing your best friend and so I just think that we need to encourage healthy conversations around things. I mean, I'm not saying I know that there are two sides of the pendulum. And I feel like I'm on this side where I am comfortable sharing and talking. And not everyone has to be there. But I think that it's important for us to have those conversations and get things out so that it's not scary. I mean, you think about children that have been victims of sexual assault. They're afraid to say something because they're taught that sex is dirty and sex is nasty, as opposed to having a conversation with them, saying that this is what sex is, this is when it's appropriate, this is when it's inappropriate, you know? Mm-hmm. So then they can say, hey, this was inappropriate, let me say something to someone, as opposed to this happened to me, I'm going to keep it quiet because it's nasty and dirty.
What are some of like the biggest misconceptions that men have about women? I know that one of them that I learned is that, you know, and I learned this when I first started having sex, you know,
you can't even say it when you first started having sex.
You know, thinking that every woman that I was having sex with was having an orgasm.
Yeah, no. Okay, a few things. One,
that was like the biggest thing that I learned.
And so one of the things I learned is that men, so sex, like, just break it down on a physiological, biological level. Mm-hmm. When you're having sex, you are absolutely vulnerable. You are literally like butt naked, like just vulnerable. Mm-hmm. You ain't supposed to be fucking for hours. Like, just what the hell does two, you know, monkeys in the wild look like having this 3-hour round for round session out in the open?
That's a myth. That's one of the myths. You ain't supposed to.
I mean, like, I don't need you to pound me for hours. Like, no, sir, not at all. And I think if men got that out of their head.
So what's like a good achievable duration?
I don't even think there needs to be achievable duration. I just think that we need to first understand that sex is more than just penetration. Sex includes foreplay. So like lesson one. What? We don't have to go for more than foreplay.
So we don't have to go for hours. Number two, you're saying it's more than penetration. Okay.
Yes, it's foreplay. Like, let's include that. Are you taking notes?
No.
Okay.
I'm
you got 2 kids. You should have some of this covered by now.
Yeah, you're right. You would think I would know.
Don't worry. I'm gonna drop a link to my podcast to your wife. Okay.
Please. Hey man, she gonna come.
You gonna be mad?
Fuck around and have 4 more kids. I don't, you know. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yeah. So it's more than just penetration. Let's think about foreplay. And then again, like, I think that everyone's different. So, like, just listen, feel out the person you're with. Don't be afraid to say something. You know, I think people are afraid to say.
Can you go from not being attracted to somebody to like really being attracted to somebody? Is that?
I mean, it depends on how much tequila I had.
Because have you ever met someone where like maybe the personal, maybe y'all butt heads, but like the sexual like chemistry is like crazy?
Yeah, actually, we've done a couple episodes like that on our podcast where we talk about, you know, enemies to lovers and that kind of thing.
What is that? That is crazy. I think crazy. That is crazy. I mean, I experienced that in college, like where you just have only a sexual attraction to someone and you have no other intentions of it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right, come here and let me fuck you.
You don't want to be friends, but just like, you know, you guys click so well sexually. That to me that's insane to me.
It's the devil.
That literally is the devil, right? When you got no other attraction other than sex, and it's like after you have, like, you know what? This is the last time. We ain't doing this no more.
Fuck you, and then you like.
Yeah, then you right back at it, man.
What you doing?
What is that? What is that called?
I have no idea.
Is that considered
the devil?
Is that healthy though, or no?
I mean, I don't think it's healthy to be in a relationship that doesn't serve you. But I mean, if you and that person are comfortable with that, then by all means, go for it. I mean, like, I am firmly, I don't yuck anyone's yum. If you like it, I love it. As long as you ain't hurting babies or pets, by all means, go for it. So if you and that person that you can't stand choose to have this relationship, by all means, go for it, because you probably having some good serotonin going through that body after that.
Does size matter?
No. I mean, I think you got to know what you're working with. I think also, you smiling hard. I think you got to know what you're working with. And also, you can't actually, me and Kenry were talking about this on an episode, where you can't do everything with every dick, you know? Some dicks are not stunt dicks. Some dicks are just big and made for sex. Some you can get a little creative with. So, I mean, it matters in some of the things you're trying to do, I think, for me. But I mean, at the end of the day, a woman's vagina can push out a big ass baby. She can take your dick.
So is length better or like width?
Girth. It is a personal decision. Some people like girthy ones. Some people like long ones. It just depends. But I mean, everybody's just like everyone's dick looks different. Everyone's vagina and vulva is different. And so I think it's important to remember that, so that there's no standard. So everyone has their different preferences, you know?
So you started along, you became curious about this topic in college or
I mean, I've always been a type of kid. Like, I remember as a young kid, like my grandma had like this big encyclopedia of health, and I like flipped to the sexual health part and was reading it. So this is something that I've always been interested in. I think.
When did you feel comfortable, like?
Well, I think post-divorce, I became more comfortable discussing it. Just because it's, after my divorce, well, not even after my divorce, like the last couple of years of my life, like my mother passed away, my grandmother passed away, I went through a divorce, I done fought cancer. So now I'm like, fuck it, life is too short. And I have, I feel like I'm freer, and I want women to feel that same freedom. So if it takes me putting my shit out there if it takes me being here in order to get other women here, I'm all for it.
So, okay. So just recently you kind of, it was always in you, but just recently you felt really comfortable just saying, hey, it is what it is. Hate it or love it.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you were married, did you ever find yourself having like basic sex?
Yeah. I mean, marriages go through ups and downs. And so, yeah, if you say your marriage has never had basic sex, you a damn lie.
Well, we've never had.
Y'all never had basic sex?
It's been amazing every time.
Okay.
Well, but anyway, enough about me.
Well, y'all only got, how many years y'all got to think? Y'all got some time ahead of you. Forever is a long fucking time.
I'm just talking shit. But okay. All right. So that's interesting to know. So, I mean, do you find that your newfound voice intimidates at all?
Yeah, it can be intimidating. It can be intimidating. It can, because just like you said, you keep calling me an expert. I'm not an expert. I just read and learn and share, Well,
you know more than probably 99% of the population about this subject.
Not that much. I mean, not that many. I learn from a lot of people every day. And so I think it can be intimidating because people look at it and they assume that I know it all. I've got it all together. I figured it all out. I've experienced everything.
Or I would say this. Men would say, man, how can I get her off? Like, like mentally, like, man, she know everything. Yeah, she done.
And if you're intimidated, then you ain't for me. Like I am firmly at the point in life now where what is for me is for me. What will come to me will come to me. And so if for any reason you're hesitant to approach me or be with me or whatever, then you ain't for me. Because more than just the sex educator part, I am a lot of person. And so if some part of you scares me or you're hesitant about something, then all right, because I don't need no scared motherfucker, because we're going to jump into this full, with full hearts.
So when you got married and in that process, were you, was how important, like, were you ranking sex in choosing a mate?
I mean, it's not the end all be all, but it is definitely a big is a big part of it, you know?
Like is it like top 5 things to look for you?
I mean, everyone says people divorce because of what, money or sex or something like that, right? I mean, it's a very important part. But again, like I feel like for a while, I was at a point where I was just kind of enjoying the sex that I was given and not having had explored all that's available in the universe of sex. And so, yeah.
So it's like kind of like it's you're like, oh damn, it's levels to this.
Yeah, there's a lot to know, you know? And so like once you learn more things, you're like, okay, like I might not be into that, but it exists, you know, and there's a whole community around it, you know, like, so it's just a matter of what's my thing.
So, okay. So you say you might not be into something. Can that be accurate if you don't try it first?
So have you ever done water sports or scat play?
I've done some water sports like surfing.
No, nigga, pissing on somebody.
You speaking a whole other language.
Exactly. Do you need to know whether or not you like getting pissed on or shit on?
That's called a water sport? No, I don't.
Water sports is when.
No,
right?
I don't need to know that.
Exactly. I mean, like, it just, but now you know it exists, you know? And so, but there might be somebody and be like, let's try it, you know?
So, I mean, but when is it okay? Like for me, and I'm not trying to be offensive, I wouldn't even, that's overboard. You know,
that's fine.
I mean, that's overboard.
But it's important for you to know that it exists, you know, like I kind of went to one extreme, but I mean, there are so many different ways to express yourself sexually that exist. That's more than just hitting it from the back. She ate my pussy, that kind of stuff. And I just think it's important for us to learn about all of that if you want to. And if something piques your interest, learn how to explore it, you know?
Yeah. Man, 100%. So, I mean, what advice do you have to people that maybe you're in a committed relationship, maybe you're married, and the sex is getting boring? You know, how do you communicate that to your partner without being offensive?
You just got to communicate it and tell your partner, look, I love you. I'm here for the long haul, but let's figure out a way to spice it up. Let's figure out a way to do something different. I will follow up with you, but there's this really good website that I found. And essentially what it is, it's a website that two people, that a couple, not two people, but people in a relationship can go to. I don't want to be binary about it, but people in a relationship can go to the website. They'll enter their information, their email address and their partner's email address. And then the website will email their partner this quiz. And on the quiz, each person takes it and it has different types of sexual acts. And so it's, I want to do it. I'm open to trying it. Hell no. And so you fill it out, your partner fills it out, and then it emails the other person the results, but only list what the other person is interested in that you're also interested in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So it gives you an opportunity to say, I'd like to try anal with your partner, but it only tells your partner if your partner's like, I'd like to try anal, you know? And so it kind of takes away that stigma of, what if, you know, like, I don't want to jump out there and say to my partner, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And they look at me like, you want to do that? You know, so it only lets them know if they're interested as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a really good start, because you might realize that you and your partner are thinking some of the same things and both have been afraid to express it.
Wow. So
I'll make sure you get the link.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like that love language thing a little bit.
They make that love language stuff. I mean, which is important, but it makes it look play.
Wow. I'm sure it does. So you were diagnosed with cancer when?
December 5th, 2019. So I went home to St. Louis for Thanksgiving, came back that Saturday. You know, I had a super early flight. So, you know, I get home from the flight. I'm type A. So I want to make sure my house is clean my house, wash my clothes, all that, crawling in bed to lay down. I don't know if I was feeling myself up, about to masturbate. I don't know. But I felt my breast and felt the lump. It was like, this don't feel right. So I laid there obsessing about it. And then the next morning I walked around to Kenria's door, my best friend, knocked on the door, was like, feel my titty. And she did. And was like, ooh, this doesn't feel normal. So that Monday I got an appointment with my doctor and went in, and she felt it and felt the lump there. But interestingly enough, I had just had my annual exam like the month before, and we didn't feel anything. And so she was like, oh, it's probably a cyst or something like that. A lot of Black women have very fibrous breasts. We tend to have cysts. Cysts come and go. She was like, it's probably a cyst, but I'm going to order a mammogram and ultrasound, and then also give you a referral to a breast surgeon, because if it is cancerous, you're going to need a breast surgeon. If they say it's not cancerous, I know you're going to want to, I'm the type of person I want as much information. So she was like, I know you're going to want to see a breast surgeon just for him to confirm that everything is okay. So that was Monday. That Thursday, I went to the hospital and for my mammogram and ultrasound, and it was absolutely crazy because, you know, here I am, 30-some years old, sitting in a room with a bunch of, you know, women in walkers coming in for their, you know, their annual breast exam. They did the mammogram. They didn't really see anything in the mammogram, but then they did the ultrasound, and in the ultrasound was when they saw something, which I will note to Black women, especially Black women, women with large breasts, women with fibrous breasts. If you've ever been told your breast is fibrous, make sure you get a mammogram and an ultrasound, because my cancer was not seen in the mammogram, but it was seen in the ultrasound. So they saw something in the ultrasound. She was like, I'm not sure what we see, but we saw something in the ultrasound, so we want to do a biopsy. So I remember I was getting dressed from the mammogram and ultrasound, and I come out and there's this white lady standing there, and she's like, let's go talk. And she sat me down and she was like, well, we're really concerned about something we saw on the on the ultrasound. So we want you to come back in about an hour for a biopsy. So sure enough, I went in for my biopsy, and the technician that was doing it was super concerned. You know how like your doctor will tell you something. Well, she won't tell you something, but at the same time it's telling you something. So she's like, I'm really concerned about this. I'm really, really concerned about this. When you go home, stop taking birth control. Call your doctor and tell her that I said I'm really, really concerned about this. So, of course, I start freaking out because I'm like, how the fuck I'm going to have cancer, you know? And so I'm like freaking out about having cancer, and opposed to her being like, oh, it may not be cancer. She was giving me the, women live with cancer all the time. Breast cancer is so prevalent. And I'm like, bitch, you need to be telling me I don't have cancer. Make me feel better. And so that was a Thursday. I had to wait over the weekend. And that Tuesday morning, I was at work. I got a phone call, and they said our suspicions were confirmed. This is cancer. So, yeah.
Did you have a history of that in your family?
None whatsoever. No history whatsoever. And one of the first things I did, so I called the breast surgeon. I had already had an appointment with him. And by then we're going into like holiday period where, you know, everybody's out for the holidays, Christmas, that kind of thing. But I was able to get squeezed in, and one of the first things we did was genetic testing. And I have no history of, I have no genetic markers, indicators of cancer, of breast cancer. My grandfather had prostate cancer, which metastasized to bone cancer, but there was no history of breast cancer in my family. And
so there was nothing that you could have did to prevent this? So not like...
I mean, look, let me tell you, I spent an entire Howard homecoming walking around doing a church hug like this, because I read this article about how deodorant has aluminum and it causes cancer. So I was like, I'm cutting out aluminum deodorant. So my ass walking around transitioning deodorants, smelling like Howard China at fucking homecoming, getting everybody church hugs, only to end up with cancer a few years later. So, I mean, I guess people could be doing the I'm eating vegan, I'm eating healthy, but I'm like, fuck it, life is too short. So as soon as this hair grow back, I'm gonna get some color. I still eat all my trash, all of that.
Wow. So that's a hell of a Christmas present.
Right. Oh yeah.
To find that out. I mean, was it, when you hear something like that, I know your thoughts are like, I'm 38 or 36 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, where does this come from?
When I first had the call, when I first had the biopsy, that's when I lost it. That's when I cried and lost my shit. But after that, and even at that point, it wasn't like I'm gonna die. It was just this is some tough shit I gotta go through, So it sucked. It fucking sucked. But at no point was I like, I'm not gonna be here for my child and my family.
So was it like when you say you touched your breast, did you touch it because it was?
No, I could not. I mean, I wasn't doing, they say every month you're supposed to do breast self-exams. I wasn't even doing that. I couldn't even tell you why I was rubbing my titty.
It wasn't any pain or anything?
No, I was literally just laying in bed and yeah.
So have you had any pain that's directly linked to cancer, or is the pain mostly from recovery?
No, yeah, I've had no pain linked to cancer. And actually we caught my cancer really early. So once we typed it out and everything, they call me a stage 1B, which is super early. But the grade of cancer I have, so they give you a stage and they give you a grade. So there's grades 1 through 4 and stages 1 through 4. But then there's A and Bs and all that. And so I was stage 1B, but my grade of cancer was 3. So it was an aggressive moving cancer, but again, they caught it very early. And so we were able to, get it. It was just localized to a particular part of my breast, but I had cells that indicated that they could turn into cancer. So my doctor just recommended doing mastectomy, but 1, I'm vain. 2, if one titty tried to kill me, the other one was going to try to kill me. So I did a bilateral mastectomy. I had both breasts removed. And then we did reconstruction. And so the pain has come along with the surgeries and the chemo and all the medicines and the reconstruction.
Damn. What's a medical bill like that?
You know what? I am blessed. I am super blessed. I think the most I've paid out of pocket. You know what? So initially we weren't sure if I was going to have to do chemotherapy. And I ended up having to do chemotherapy. And when I found out that I had to do chemotherapy, one of the things that could be a result of chemotherapy is infertility. So my doctor told me, if you want to have children, or you want to have more children, you need to preserve your eggs. So I had to do egg preservation. And unfortunately, my insurance didn't cover fertility preservation. So I had to pay that out of pocket. Now, thankfully, there are different programs that help women pay for egg preservation. Unfortunately, I made too much for the sliding scale. I mean, the sliding scale isn't crazy, but at the same time, I'm in DC. So those little numbers are play compared to, the cost of living in DC. So my prescription drug coverage covered the medicines, and that was probably about $5,000. And I think I paid $200 for that. And then I had to pay out of pocket for the actual process of freezing my eggs, which was another $5,500. The rest of everything else has been co-pays. But again, I am super blessed with amazing health insurance. But I mean, I think I remember seeing that my hospital stay, just the hospital stay, was $53,000. Just the hospital stay, not even, and I stayed not even a full 24 hours in a hospital post mastectomy. So,
yeah, no, those hospital bills can hit up because my my son came 2 months early. He's 2 pounds, and I remember the bill was like $600,000.
Yeah.
Just look at you like, damn,
yeah.
Like, where does that even come from?
And what's crazy is I very recently I got a bill in the mail from the hospital, and it was for it was a bill for like $2,500, and it was for the pathology. So once they remove the breast tissue, they have to look at it under the microscope to see, to help grade and type it. And it was $2,500. So I'm looking at the bill that they sent me by mistake, and it had like a $500 self-pay discount. So it was like $2,500, you pay at that $2,000. Mm-hmm. So I go back to my insurance paperwork, and I see that my insurance had already reimbursed the hospital for it. And the insurance company only reimbursed the hospital like $800 for it. And then the hospital just had to eat the rest. And so I'm just like, this is how fucked up healthcare is in the world right now. Whereas if you're an insurance company, you only paying $800 for this pathology report. Whereas if you're paying out of pocket, you got to pay $2,000. But again, I was blessed. I've literally only paid co-pays. I've been able to have my breast reconstruction covered. So after I had my mastectomy, I had my breast, both my breasts removed, a lift done.
You said a mastectomy?
Mastectomy.
What is that?
When they remove your breast.
Oh, okay.
So they remove your breast tissue, and essentially it's just like a pocket left.
And
oh, sorry.
You had, some of the nicest pair to Grace Howard's campus.
Well, thank you.
So
thank you. I took lots of photos before they left. I took lots of photos, and there are lots of photos now. I joke. I say it's a parting gift. People come to visit me. I'm like, you want to see my titties?
So saying bye to those boys had to be tough.
It was, but I got a new pair that sit up perfectly. I'll be 90 years old and die with the breast of a 20-year-old.
So how has your life changed in just, a year and a half?
I have a much more of a fuck it kind of attitude about life, just because things can change so quickly, even thinking about when I began chemo. I started chemo literally the Thursday before everything in DC started shutting down due to COVID.
That's crazy.
So it's just, shit can change so quickly. Like life can change like that.
Oh wait, it's only been 8 months. I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's been 8 months.
Yeah.
So life can change so quickly, and so I have a fuck it kind of attitude. If it's not serving me, I don't want it. If it's not making me happy, I ain't doing it. I have really learned that life is not to be wasted on bullshit.
So, okay. No, and I totally agree with what you're saying. I went to the doctor like a month ago, and the doctor took my blood pressure, and it was like, damn, this is really high. And this was just for a routine checkup. I felt the same, all of that. So they're like, damn, that's really high. So next thing you know, they prescribing me like medication, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not used to that. Like I've never had to take any medication, and I've been forced to change my diet, and it's weird, how you can go through life minding your own business and doing your thing, and then you get a wake-up call like that. Because she was like, you could have had a heart attack. Like she was using like those type of words, like you could have had a heart attack or a stroke. And so for me, I don't say my attitude is like fuck it, but it is more so like be grateful, type of like, like it's less indecision around certain things.
Exactly.
Like if it's something that I want to do, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, you know what I mean? So I guess in a sense it is like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just like you could not even have the opportunity to be faced with this choice.
Mm-hmm.
So grab it and go.
Yeah. Cause it's almost like and I'm never gonna say it's like a blessing in disguise, but
I say it all the time. Like
it's like a wake up call for real.
Me having breast cancer has been a complete and utter blessing. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. But like, one, I have been introduced to so many women that have breast cancer, that have had breast cancer, and we have had such a valuable relationship. There's this one one chick that went to Howard, and she was very open about her breast cancer journey. And she was just like a friend of a friend of a friend. And we followed each other on Instagram. And when I found out I had breast cancer, she was like one of the first people outside of my inner circle that I told. And we're now like super close friends. We talk to each other multiple times a day. And she's someone that I truly value. And I wouldn't have met her had it not been for breast cancer. Also, I am truly blessed. Like, I can't even properly explain how grateful I am, particularly for my Howard people, like my Alpha Chapter Delta sorority sisters, because they, like, the minute they found out, they just circled in, and it was like, what do you need? What do you need to do? I had folks taking my kid to school, picking them up. One of my sorors stopped by. She was like, I just want your son to get to know me, because as you're going through this, I'll be here to help you out, pick him up. I had a group of girlfriends. They paid for someone to clean my house for like 2 months straight every week, because they knew that was something I needed. I didn't have to worry about food. I'm still eating off of Uber Eats gift cards that people gave me. Like, it was just the amount of support that I received was just amazing. And my entire family, with the exception of one brother, is in St. Louis. My younger brother lives with me, but the rest of my family is in St. Louis. And they were so worried. Like I said, I lost my grandmother and my mother. And so my aunts were looking at me like, oh my gosh, she's here. She's off in DC alone. She has nobody to support her and help her. And so my aunt came to stay with me for a week after my first surgery. And when she left, she was just like, I don't have to worry about you. I know I don't have to worry about you, because I've seen the amount of support and love you have from your girlfriends and your friends you went to school with. And it made it just that much more special. And so I'm grateful. I know I'm blessed. And it has made me better when I show up in relationships for my friends, because I think about how great they have been to me, or just show up for random strangers, because it's just, I recognize the blessings that I've had going through this.
That's a good perspective, because it's people out there that get diagnosed with this stuff and they don't have anybody. Mm-hmm. Cancer survivor. What is that when you hear those words? Like, what does that sound like?
I be looking around like, who? I mean, like, I still legit will be sitting at home and be like, damn, you had cancer. Like it was somebody else. Like, you need to do something nice for that Erica. She had cancer. And I'm like, oh shit, that's me. Yeah. So, it's wild. Like I said, I had no choice but to get through this, because I got shit to do. I got life to live.
Yeah. I
got Black women to help release and get free from bad sex. I got shit to do in life. So, yes, cancer survivor. It's just like, I look at it like this was some shit I had to go through for whatever reason in life.
So why does want to or need to help Black women?
What do you mean?
Why not? Hey, I'm just a sex educator for the people.
Because I'm a Black woman and I want to take care of us.
Or for Black men, or just for Black people. Why Black women?
Black women are in my wheelhouse. Why? Because I am a Black woman. Black women and femmes. So that's why I identify as. And so some Black women do deal with Black men, and that's great. But I'm going to stick with what I am interested in, and that's what I'm interested in. And I mean, I feel like it trickles downhill. Black women take care of everybody. So if we're taking care of ourselves, we're making sure that we're happy and we're living a life filled with pleasure, then our children will be happy and live a life filled with pleasure. Our partners will be happy and live a life filled with pleasure. I find a lot of times, just in my circles among my friends and family, like, I model what it looks like to live a life that's filled with pleasure. And by doing that, other people see that. And it might not be just be women. It might be men also. And I think I was going to touch on this earlier. So when Maya Angelou passed away, there was a lot of talk around white people kind of co-opting her and saying, oh, she transcended race, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, no. Maya Angelou was Black, capital B, Black as fuck, you know? And that's how I look at it when it comes to me and sex educating. I am a Black woman. I am a Black femme. And that is who I am for. Just because that's who I am for, that doesn't mean other people can't enjoy it. I mean, Kenria and I were talking to a group of guys the other day that listen to our podcast and they love it. And that feels good to know that men enjoy what we do. And I want men to get something from what I'm doing. But just because it's not for you doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it or can't get something from it. So it's kind of like a birthday cake. It might be your birthday and the cake might be for you, but I don't mean that your wife and your kids can't enjoy the cake, right?
Absolutely.
Our birthday cake. This birthday cake is made out to Black women.
Strong enough for a man. Well, they say strong enough for a man, but pH balance. Made for a woman. For a woman. Okay. No, I totally get that. I mean, when you came out with this, I guess when finding your voice in this sexual education path, how did your close friends and family, how did they respond?
It's interesting when I told because I had been going through for a very long time trying to figure out what was next with me professionally. I worked, I was a mayoral appointee for 4 years in the city. Then I went over to my current position and I, just kind of felt like I was stagnant in my position and like, what's next? And so I was constantly searching and nothing ever fit. And then, sex thing.
You was jerking off and you was like, oh, shit.
This ain't enough.
I know what's next.
Okay. And so, and it just it started as a slow kind of whisper in the back of my head. And then it got louder and louder. And this has become what I wanted to do. And so when I started telling people, initially I was a little hesitant, but then I was like, you know what, fuck it. You got to just jump in. And so when I started telling my friends and family, they were all like, this makes perfect sense. This is exactly who you are. Because I would find myself at holiday parties talking to some woman that I randomly know about like how to get her husband comfortable with her using vibrators in bed with them. And it's like, it's really nice meeting you, whatever your name is. Tell me how your husband likes that vibrator that I suggested, Whoa. So that's been who I am. And I've finally been able to kind of put a point to it and formalize it.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. Is it true that like women know like within the first 5 minutes of meeting someone that they would have sex with them? Is that true?
Yes. And I think, for me it's true. And I think a lot of times men think that they can like talk a woman into having sex with them. And it's like women know off the bat whether or not they want to have sex with you. A lot of times men talk themselves out of pussy. That's the thing. Like, wow. Shut up. Just shut up. Smile, nod. Because a lot of times what I have in my head about you and what you're going to say and what you're going to do is a lot better than what you're going to say and what you're going to do. So just shut the fuck up. You probably get it even more.
Wow. So what does that sound like? A man talking himself out of it?
Talking too much, being corny, just saying some shit that I ain't into. It just...
Okay, so if you see a guy, you say, oh, man, okay, I'm feeling this dude. Like, what, like, in the first 5 minutes, I mean, I'm a guy, so first 5 minutes, first 5 seconds, I know, like, I don't care what she says. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I know that, you
could say something that tipped me off and make me think, oh, this nigga talk me to death.
Right.
Calling me later. Or, I like him. I'm interested in him as a partner. I want to have sex with him. Then he start opening his mouth. He's like, oh, this nigga dumb. I am not interested in him at all. You know what I mean? It's just, again, it could be a billion little things, but I've definitely, you know.
So is it safe to say, do you have a type? No.
I mean, you know what? Some of my girlfriends could say that I have a type, but no, not at all. I mean, I like black people, but past that, you know,
right.
You just gotta, I mean, I ain't just fucking any and everything, but.
So what about the worst sex? The worst sex. Johnny on Instagram wants to know, Erica, what's the worst sex that you think?
Worst sex. Probably somebody that's not listening, or, you know, like, because I mean, I don't want to make it feel like you having sex with a drill sergeant, you know, like.
Right.
But
hate that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if you just laying over here, like, humping me, making me feel like I'm just like, hey, I'm here, that's probably the worst sex, you know?
So I guess it's like when you feel like you don't have a voice, you like, yo.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like, what is this? Like, shit, I shaved above the knee for this bullshit.
Damn. Wow. Shaved above the knee. So, you're from St. Louis.
That's like.
You're from St. Louis, right?
Yes. St. Louis, Missouri.
What made you go to Howard?
Interestingly enough, so in St. Louis, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do this thing called the Gateway Classic. So it's kind of like the Circle City Classic, Bayou Classic, where they have two historical black colleges come to the city and play a football game.
Gotcha.
And the one day I was sitting in class, and the one black counselor in my class, my school, called me down, and she was like, hey, Gateway Classic is doing this pageant, and I'm going to put you in it. And if you win a 4-year full ride scholarship to one of the schools that are playing. And Howard played 2 years, just 2 years. And it was Howard versus University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And I won the pageant, and I won a 4-year full ride. Well, it wasn't full ride, 4-year, $40,000 scholarship to Howard. So I was, after Pell Grants and, all that, I didn't have to pay anything. So, yep.
Wow. You don't like me as the pageant type.
You remember I wore the short, low cut in Howard?
Yeah.
That's what I looked like in high school. I was like, yeah, but they saw something. I appreciate it. It changed my life.
Nice.
Changed my life.
So when you got to Howard, 99, right?
Yeah.
I used to see you and Kenria, y'all freaking frack. You, Kenria, was Stephanie in y'all crew too?
Yep, Stephanie. Yeah, it was all of us. Yeah.
What was it like pulling up to Howard, man, in 99? Like that freshman orientation. What was that like?
So I remember even taking it a little further back when I came to visit the school. I remember I came to visit, and it was a week after homecoming. And it was still like a buzz on campus. Like, you could tell, like, some shit just happened. Some shit just went down here, you know? And I remember standing right in the middle of the yard and looking around like, yo, this is my school. I'm going to go here. Because although I won a scholarship, it wasn't like guaranteed entry. So I still had to apply, you know? And of course, Howard being Howard, I had already applied. They hadn't gotten back to me. So I had to walk over to the A building and talk to somebody. But yeah, I knew that this was home. I remember freshman orientation getting here, and DC being scary. I was the first in my family to go to college. So I didn't even know what to expect and what a dorm room would even look like. You know, like, it was just like new, but I knew I was home. It just felt like this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, I totally feel you with that one, because I felt comfortable as soon as I got on campus. It was just like,
yeah,
I wasn't missing, like, I felt like I wasn't missing nothing at home. I was just like, yo, finally.
I remember my year of high school, I was dating this boy, and I kept telling him, like, look, this is cute. We can be together. But I'm not taking sand to the beach. I'm going to Howard. You're going to stay in St. Louis. Like, I was clear, like, I'm going to DC, and this is my life.
So no phone cards. You wasn't wasting money on phone cards.
I was not wasting money on phone cards at all. None of that. I was fully in my Howard experience.
Was it intimidating at all being around?
It was. It was because, like I said, I was first generation college student. So, I remember I had a roommate my freshman year. Her dad was like a jazz photographer. She'd be like, oh, so-and-so's in town, let's go here. I had never heard of Jack and Jill until I got to Howard. Like it was just one of those things where I just realized like, yo, Black people come in so many different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. So there was a little intimidation, but at the same time, I was just like, yo, I can't change this shit. I ain't gonna try to, I'm too lazy, too forgetful to be making some shit up because I'm gonna tell you a lie and forget the shit. So, I am who I am.
So you get to Howard, you're an
Afro Studies major.
Afro Studies major. Wow. So you just did all the stereotypical.
I know. I remember I told my grandma what I was majoring in. She was like, because of course, first generation, they thought I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer. She was like, you went all the way there to study Black people? You could have stayed home and studied Black people.
Right.
I was like, damn, Granny. But yeah, like I believe that unless you were trying to do something super specific, like just fucking study what you want. Howard, yes, Howard. But college, undergrad is about the experience. Unless you're trying to do something math specific that requires a specific degree. I talked to so many professionals and it's like, what was your major in college? Oh, I was an English major. I was a poli-sci major, and it's just like, ain't got shit to do with what you're doing now in life. So for me, I was like, I just want to get an experience. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself. Mm-hmm. And I want to show that I can complete a degree. So why the fuck am I going to try to do biology? Ain't no point in that. I'm going to study and learn and enjoy what I want. And then once I finish, I'll figure it out. I mean, some people take other paths and I'm not knocking them because that's great. But for me, that's what worked.
Good shit. So when, so you're at campus, I mean, what organizations were you involved with when you were at Howard?
So, of course, I was a Delta, so I was pledged initiated at Alpha Chapter. But I also, so at Howard, years and years ago, there was this group called, I don't know if they were called the Kwame Ture Honor Society, but there was pretty much a club of Afro Studies majors, and it went defunct like in the 80s. And so I helped reconstitute that. And so we were the Kwame Ture Afro Studies Society. And so we, did book readings and book clubs and all that stuff. And so I was at Howard, I think it was my sophomore year, was Dr. Carr's first year. So he was like the young, new, hot, Dr. Carr is Dr. Carr, but he was like the young, new, hot professor on campus. And so, it was dope. He helped us, and that was what I did. So I was really involved in that. And then, like I said, Delta. So those two organizations was really all I did.
What was it like being an Afro Studies major at Howard?
It was fucking dope, It was dope as shit. Not only are you an Afro Studies major at Howard, but you're an Afro Studies major in DC. So I remember I had an internship at the Smithsonian Museum of American History where we worked on the Brown versus Board exhibit. But I remember while doing that, they were talking about how they're working on getting legislation. I don't know if they were working on legislation or just got legislation passed for the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture, and so I feel like I was, I got to see the beginnings of that, also, working, being at Howard and being an Afro Studies major, like the Afro Studies department at Howard came out of protest. Like when they took over the A building, one of the demands was to form an Afro Studies department. You came out of that, and so you feel like you're like walking in history, and it's just amazing.
So, what goes through your mind today when you see stuff on TV about like George Floyd or Black Lives Matter, or you see Donald Trump, just given, because I would imagine that, I'm a business, I majored in business, I work in business, you have extensive training in Afro Studies. So you probably were woke before a lot of people were woke. You know what I'm saying? But now, fast forward to now, where everybody is more conscious about everything Black. You know, what are some of the thoughts you have about what we're dealing with today?
You know, as a mother of a young child, this shit's scary. You know, my 11-year-old is as tall as I am. I'm 5'5". He wears a size 11 shoe. He looks like a damn near a grown man. He's only 11. He's going into the 6th grade. That's just scary because I think about like, if, you know, like we'll be on the street and some Black mother will think he's much older than how he is. And so I can only imagine what some scary white woman looks at him as, you know? So it's scary, but at the same time, I'm very hopeful seeing, you know, all the young people out, like just out there saying, you know, fuck these job opportunities, fuck what somebody else may think. This is important. Y'all gonna listen, you know, putting their lives on the line. And that stuff like really makes me feel good to know that we have so many young people out there that are busting their ass to make sure that shit changes. You know, it's all been accumulation of the previous generations' work, but I feel like this generation is really going to make some changes. I'm very hopeful for what's going on right now.
So, I mean, would you say you've seen progress?
I think I have. I mean, in some instances, yes. In some instances, no. You know, like, yes, it's really fucking dope that the Washington football team has changed their name. It's been years and years and years of Indigenous people saying, hey, this is racist. This is a slur. Let's change our name. It's really dope that they did that. It's amazing that so many of these cities are taking down monuments to racist. There have been tons of work around that for years and years and years, which is great. It's great. I love it. But at the same time, how about y'all stop killing us? You know? But I do think that work is going to take a lot. It's going to take a little bit more time. It's not going to be as instant as taking down a statue. And even taking down the statues took years to do that. But I do think that there's a crop of, you know, legislators and activists and all of that is really doing the work that's going to make some change.
Are you one of those people that are like for reparations?
Yeah. I mean, shit, why not? I take a check.
So if reparations were to come, I mean, what form do you think they should come in?
Now, see, that's the part where I'm like, it's difficult. I know it's a sticky situation, and I know it's a sticky situation, and I am not qualified enough to answer, because you have the questions of like, so what if someone's mixed, or, you know, it'll be one of those things how, like, you know, all these white people are, you know, digging up Indigenous people and their,
if they give reparations,
scholarships.
It'll end up white women getting it.
Yeah. Everybody gonna be a nigga. Everybody want to be a nigga. So yeah. So I mean, like, it will be nice. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but yeah, it'll be nice.
So at what point do you become interested in Delta?
I remember my freshman year, my RA was online to be a Delta, and I didn't really realize it. She just kept, you know, asking me to work the front desk for her and that kind of stuff. But her and her homegirls were like dope as shit. Like, just, they were all like super amazing people. And, you know, and I just noticed all the women on campus that I thought were just like dope as shit were Delta. So that, I mean, like, I'll be honest, like, I wish I could say like, oh, I knew the history. And no, all the women that I saw on campus that I identified with were Deltas. And then once I started, you know, like getting interested in more in the organization, then I learned about the amazing history of Delta and the amazing Deltas globally that have affected the world and changed history. But like my first introduction were like Alpha Chapter 2002. I mean, Alpha Chapter 2000. I was 2002. But yeah, Alpha Chapter 2000 line.
So how did did somebody take you under your wing and say, hey, like, how did you go about joining? And, you know, beyond just like the stuff that we know about, saying, okay, go to this event, go to that event, were you able to forge a relationship with people that were already, you know, with your pro fights?
I mean, I had existing relationships with people through classes. Like I said, one of my RAs was a Delta, and And so we were always good friends and that kind of thing.
So you were able to confide in her and say, hey, I want to do this too.
In so many words.
In so many words. Because it's a legit question because a lot of people.
No, I mean, look, I crossed in 2002. So whatever process I went through is very different from whatever process is going on right now. I remember us, trying to learn about the deltas from, hearing so-and-so's in this class. Now I hear they you can find everybody's life on Instagram and Twitter, so
that's true.
Life was very different then. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
It's exciting though. Exciting.
Yeah.
Running on all them goose chases, I'm sure. Yes. So you become a Delta in 2002, so at least you had a year.
Yep, I had a year on campus.
How did that change your college experience once you crossed?
It was great. Like I had lots of line sisters, and we really got a lot closer doing the work of the chapter, doing the work of Delta. Mm-hmm. Staying up late. I have one line sister that I'm particularly close with because we stayed up one night making sandwiches for walkathon in my house. Like stayed up till 3 a.m. making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So, it was great. Also working in the chapter, I think I was recording secretary, maybe. I think I was recording secretary for the chapter. So, it was just a lot of work, but that's how you form those relationships, doing work, being in the trenches with folks. And then also, I generally stayed in my corner of, I stayed in my little Afro studies land, and I lived in the annex my freshman year and sophomore year. And then the East Towers my junior year. So I didn't really have the whole Blackburn experience or the Drew experience and that kind of thing. So, Quad and Drew experience. So it was nice. Like once I had more line sisters, I then met even more people through, through their networks and that kind of thing. So it was great. Like I feel horrible for anyone that had a bad Howard experience. Cause I'm just like, yo, that shit was some of the best years of my life.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, Howard was it's like the gift that keeps on giving, even to this day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, every now and then I will run across people that I'm like, well, what was you doing that you didn't like it? Like what? I figure like for me not to like Howard, like, I don't know what could have happened. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel bad. And with you start touching on the gift that keeps on giving, like every job that I've ever had, with the exception of one, came at the hands of some Howard person, some Howard hookup. Like, granted, you stay, once you get there, you got to stay there. But I definitely, every job with the exception of one, came from a Howard connection.
Wow. So you graduated. So I'm thinking you probably had really good grades, right?
Yeah. Cum laude, I think.
Okay. So you had some good grades coming out.
Yeah.
So you had good grades coming out. Now, I mean, what are you thinking that you're gonna do as a career when you majoring in the Afro studies?
Shit, I ain't know. I didn't know. When did I know what I wanted to do when I grew up? About a year ago, when I decided I wanted to be a sex educator. It sounds crazy, but I just kind of fell into things. So right after I graduated, I remember laying in bed being like, well, I'm not going to St. Louis, so I guess I better get a job. So somebody from Howard, she was actually one of my line sisters was working at this firm in Alexandria. It was like a consulting firm. They did IT consulting. And she was an admin there and moving. And so they were looking for her replacement. So she put me down. So I got that job. And her manager was this other Delta that went to Howard. And then when she left that job, she went to another job and brought me on. Wow. And so I worked there with her. And then after that, I tried my hand at commercial real estate for a bit. I was not made for that, but I did it for a little bit. And then while I was doing commercial real estate, the same woman that brought me to that last job was working for the mayor. And she brought me on his campaign. And I started working I started working in the mayor's office with her.
Oh, okay.
And then once I left the mayor's office, one of my line sisters worked at my current job, knew the VP of HR, and he put me in on that one.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, that's dope. So Howard has definitely helped you win out here in life.
Yes. I mean, you know, you gotta earn your place to stay, but Howard definitely got me the first and second looks.
Yeah. I remember seeing you on campus, man. I always looked at you as like a grown up, like a grown.
Which is crazy because even now I'm a hot mess. Like, it's crazy.
I think it was, you just had
it was a haircut.
It was a haircut and you had the physique of like a grown woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, yo, she's grown.
Well, I'm glad I could fake it because I definitely have been a hot mess.
Probably only talks to seniors.
Yeah, I definitely did have a thing for older men. However,
see,
if you dig hard enough, somebody might pop up in them comments when you release this episode like, hey! So
you crazy. So what advice do you have for somebody like the 18-year-old Erica Easter coming into Howard right now? What advice would you give her?
Experience everything, enjoy, don't take that shit for granted. Recognize that you are in the best part of your life. Well, not the best, but one of the best parts of your life. So soak that shit in and enjoy it. I wouldn't change a thing even the fuck ups at Howard. I wouldn't change a thing about my Howard experience. I just wish I would remember some of them a little bit more because some of that shit was a little crazy.
Yeah. I wish I would have developed more relationships, but yeah,
I didn't develop a ton of relationships. I mean, I developed the relationships that I did, but even after Howard, like those relationships have come through, and I feel like there's strength in just you went to Howard, I went to Howard, we're gonna be cool, and also just HBCU love. You know, like I'll go to, you know, when I'm looking at interviews, if you ain't from Howard, okay, you went to Norfolk State. Oh, you went to Spelman, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I don't really regret much of anything. I kind of wish I had studied abroad, but even then I probably would have missed something. You know, I would have missed something on campus. So,
right. That was my thought too. I was like, man, I wish I would have did a fifth year.
A fifth year someplace else. But those 4 years I still need it.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
Yep.
So tell me about some of the stuff you got going on right now.
So right now I am, like I said, we have our podcast that I've mentioned multiple times already, the turnonpodcast.com. Also, I am launching my personal brand, Erica, the Erotic Revolutionist, because I want to bring revolution to women in the erotic space.
You are a freak.
Yes.
You are just a freak.
I'm not a freak. I'm a woman that enjoys life.
Freak.
And I want everyone else to enjoy life. So, Erica, the Erotic Revolutionist.
Why the Erotic Revolution? What is this? Unpackage that. Like, what do you mean, revolutionist?
I want to bring about a revolution
of freaks
in the erotic space. No, not of freaks.
Well, when I say freak, I mean, you know, people that have a newfound level of comfort and appreciation for sex.
Okay, well then, yes, I like that. Yes, yeah. So I'm like, you know, so that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm pouring my heart into that. So yeah,
that is amazing, Erica. I'm so proud of you, man, because you know I hate to say it that we hardly talked at Howard. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Like we didn't like, you know, we weren't like kicking it, but we knew of each other. And
right.
You could call me today and be like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z.
That's why I DM'd your ass, and I was like, "You're coming."
I know, but yeah, and it's like you.
But that's like the beauty. Yeah, that's the beauty of Howard. It's like, you know, even if I didn't talk to you every day, if I knew you as being a cool person, that was really all I needed to know.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
it's all the love.
But I just, you know, I just feel like, you know, I would have learned so much just from, you know, being cool with you. You know, and I say that in a lot of these interviews. You know, some people have so many different ways of thinking and getting to what their passion is, and you know, but Wow, but I love how you're able to fight cancer, and I love that, you were able to be comfortable with who you are, and the things that you and Karen are doing are just truly amazing and inspiring, man. You guys are really holding it down.
Well, I will say you were definitely like rallying, like you have engaged a whole level of alumni. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the generation before us or after us.
Yeah.
But like, if there's some Howard alumni shit going on, Josh's name has something to do with it. So thank you for rallying us
for sure, man.
Us connected,
Have you given any thought to what your legacy is going to be?
I want my legacy to be one, just a very strong and capable young Black man, my son that I'm raising, who is just the absolute dopest little person on earth. I'm raising a little Black nerd. I didn't realize it. And this is the shit. Like, so my son, he's 11. He likes Dungeons and Dragons. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's like some other shit. Like, I don't understand it. It's like wizards and a board game with a 20-sided die. I don't understand the shit. When I was growing up, Dungeons and Dragons was some shit little white kids did.
Right.
For whatever reason, my son is into it. I reached out to one of my line sisters that has a connection, that little brother that goes to Howard. Her little brother put me in touch with a whole group of Black boys that play Dungeons and Dragons, and they're all willing to take my son on and help him learn how to play, because it's a really complicated game.
That's amazing.
It's like,
that's
damn,
dope. That's dope.
Like, it's just dope as hell. But anyway, so
that is dope, man.
Part of my legacy is my son. The other part of my legacy is just I want a bunch of Black women happy, free, and sexually satisfied.
Wow. No orgasm left behind.
Wow. No Black orgasm left behind.
No Black orgasm. Well, Erica, you've been a great guest today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
For sure, man.
And I'm going to send you the link. Remind me, if I don't get it to you tonight, remind me to send you the link for that website for couples.
Oh, yeah. Send me that joint, please. Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.